Chapter 11, Explanation. I can't tell you that because then I know you will overreact and will call the cops for no reason, I said, pointing at my mother. Then I will do that, said my mother. Dad, get off me. I need something out of my pocket, I said. My dad then got off me. I got the note out and my mom and dad took it and read it and then brought me down to the ground again and was sitting on me again. It was to ask Hannah if she knew something, I said. You traveled up to Howard just for that? My mom asked, looking very irritated. Yes, I said through my shortness of breath. It was not me, nor was it any other employee in the school. It was another student, and you bothered her just for that? My mom said. It was not another student. No student knows I'm Dr. Marcacius as a persona. They all know me as Marcus Robbins, and I pretend to be Marcus Robbins at school, I answered. So you thought it was her? My dad asked. No, I wanted to make sure it wasn't her, I said, grunting through my lack of breath. Was it her? My mom asked. No. I answered. What made you think we would call the police on this? My dad asked. Because she overreacts to everything like right now, I said at my mother. More than you probably should get off him, said my mom, just to make what I said just invalid. It took a few minutes, and then I caught my breath. I must say, it is quite ironic how overprotective you claim to be, and yet you abuse all three of us because of something I did that me being an adult in less than 7 months should really be none of your business, I said. Why did you still take George out when we told you no? My mom asked, knowing what I just said. Because you didn't let me take him up to Howard, so the loop was a compromise, I said. And I still said no. Marcus, you need to realize because I said no, that means there were no compromises sometimes, my mom said. George was having a temper tantrum when I told him he couldn't go up to Howard, I said. And the truth of the matter is, he would have been back just as late as you were keeping him up right now, and maybe even sooner. My mom made a look at me like I just discovered a loophole, and she then stared at my dad, and the truth of the matter is, she and my dad realized I was right. Here you go, George, said my dad, laying George loose from the chairs. Maybe you should let Sam go too, because he is up later than usual too, I said. Oh no, said my dad with his happy, hyper-evil accent. Nothing makes us happier at the moment than watching your best friend be tortured. Ha ha ha! What else do you want to know? I asked, quite irritated. What upset you made Sam your accomplice? If it wasn't that I made him my accomplice, it is that I made him do more for me as a favor. I did nothing bad, I said. Either way, we were upset with how disobedient you were of us, and saying that my wife should have aborted you if she had a problem with you, my dad said. If you really had a problem with me, then you should have gone after me, I said. That would just lead to public fighting, which I, as an autistic woman, am really sensitive to. Fighting is something that I only want to keep in Robbinsog, and you know all of that, my mom said. I think this conversation should be over, I said. Oh no, you're grounded for a week, my dad said. And I also don't want you to harass anyone during this pointless mystery, especially your aunts, because they want nothing to do with you because of your persona and work busy lives during the day. So if you thought it was them, it wasn't them too, my mom said. Fine. I also probably should have told Hannah why I didn't think it was my aunt, I said, heading to my room, losing my mind. 2 minutes later, Sam walked in, and he had a neutral look on his face. I'm sorry she held you two hostage, I said. She really didn't think we could escape and breathe through the mouth. But the truth of the matter was, we could breathe through the mouth and blindfold just fine, said Sam. Thank you for defending me, said George. Wait, did you just say you could escape fine? I asked Sam. Yes, Sam answered. I am sorry about my next move of her doing that, and me being a black and white thinker. I'm going to do something that I never thought I would do, but of how Dad treated me, and of how you guys being forced into fooling me, I'm going to do it, I said. I then pulled out my phone and called the Chicago Police Department in the United States. All it took was me dialing 911. No, they did! Said Sam and George. They didn't stop me because I already hit the send button, and by the time they figured out what I was doing. Once the receptionist got on, I said, "Hi, please come to condo 712 at the state apartments and condos on State Street to arrest Marvin and Valerie Robbins for child abuse." I then hung up. We live very close to the Chicago police station, and it wasn't even a minute before the cops showed up, and Sam and George were staring at me in shock the whole time. I wanted to stay in until my parents forced me out of my room. The doorbell rang, and I could hear my parents wrestling out of their bed because they were shocked at visitors. I then heard my mom go to the door. "Hello," my mom said when she opened the door, which I heard through the door. "Hi, we got a call saying it was child abuse here," said the police officer. My mom then marched right to my door and snapped her fingers at me and then pointed me to leave my room in horror. I smiled as I was leaving. "Marvin, we need you!" My dad then marched out of his room. "What seems to be the problem?" my dad asked the police officer, feeling confused. "We got a call saying there was a case of child abuse here," said the police officer. My dad then gave me a look of anger, and then the next hour began. We had to spend the next hour sorting things out with the police, because while I claimed they were abusing me, it turns out they weren't, and they were using a form of discipline that was legal because nobody got injured. The cop wasn't angry at me because I explained to him that I think black and white, so he knew it wasn't a false alarm even though no one was arrested. He said I should obey my parents better, and then he took off. When he left, my parents then turned around and gave me the angriest look I have ever seen. "I am not going to scream at you because of how late it is, and I don't want to wake anyone up," said my dad. "However, I also want to say I have no words right now to use against you without screaming them." "You know, we weren't actually breaking the law," said my mom angrily. "No, I didn't. But as an autistic guy, I only think black and white. If I think something is black and it is really white, but I don't know about it, I will still put it down as black and vice versa." "Now we are going to ground Sam and George for a week with you, just to teach you a lesson," my mom said. Hey, Valerie, said my dad. "Yes," said my mom. "Let's ground them for 2 weeks because we had to deal with visitors for no reason caused by Marcus when we were not dressed as royalty," said my dad. "Ground him, Marvin, because there's 2 things he did wrong," said my mom. That made me snap. If my parents switched roles, and this would be a perfect time to call the police claiming child abuse, because I punched both of my parents at one time, resulting in blood gushing from them. "I hate you, and I wish you were dead!" I screamed at the top of my lungs. I then marched back into my room and then began beating the shit out of my pillow. "We tried to stop you," said Sam. There was a pause, so I calmed down, and then I began talking to my brothers again. "Pack up, including your school supplies. I'm getting you out of here for 2 weeks," I said quietly. Why 2 weeks?" George asked, quite frightened. "No time to explain. Set your alarm for 6 tomorrow morning, and George, the first stop is the Bean. We will begin packing immediately," said Sam. We then packed our bags and fell asleep and woke up at 6 the next morning. Are you ready, Sam? I asked quietly. Yes. Are you ready, George? I asked quietly. Yes, said George. We leave the Robbinsog in the building quietly. We then left our room, and boarded the elevator and walked out with our backpacks. It was beautiful as we walked over to the beam with the sun rising up over Lake Michigan.